Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. We'll look at the week's top stories, including a court ruling against the Secretary of State's attempt to ban offensive speech at polling places. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. It's Friday, and that means it's time for the Journalists Roundtable. And joining us tonight, Dennis Welch from CBS 5 and 3 TV, Cameron Sanchez of KJZZ Radio, and Ray Stern from the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com. Panel, good to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. Dennis, we'll start with you. Ninth Circuit says free speech, it's everywhere you go, free speech is a topic, and the Ninth Circuit looked at Fontes, Secretary Fontes, and said, we're not crazy about what you're doing here.
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic, I mean, this week, when there's been so much talk about free speech, given some of the other events that are happening, and this ruling would come out here, judge rules like, you may be trying to, do something good and stop, hateful speech you may not like, but it's also a First Amendment violation that you're looking at that you have to be very careful with here. The ruling also goes on and rules against some of the other things that Fontes wanted to do, like declare election winners and things like that.
Yeah, I want to get to that too. But Cameron, again, offensive speech at polling places. I think this was actually included in the Elections Procedures Manual, but the court said not so fast.
So the Election Procedures Manual is basically guidelines for election workers, and Fontes has to put it out every year. And basically, Republicans hate almost everything that he's changed in it, including this section. And he says his argument is like, I'm trying to prevent, like violent speech or threatening speech or incorrect speech. Like if people are outside the polls saying, oh, today's not election day, go down the block, and just like lying to people, which, the court basically said it's not illegal to be a jerk. So you can still say whatever the heck you want to. And if there is, something really bad that happens, that goes on a case-by-case basis.
And basically also said, I think, that the provisions were a little too broad. Wasn't that in the ruling as well?
Too broad. Basically, one of the main things that the judge looked at is that the law or the Election Procedure Manual rule not only says that the person that's doing the harassing has to have an intent, but just the effect of what they're doing could lead to a violation. And the judge didn't like that and said basically you could have passive harassment, I guess, or maybe you don't know if it's harassment, but a person is wearing a shirt or a hat that someone else finds offensive or harassing, then they could potentially move a violation towards that, and that was one of the reasons she didn't like it.
Yeah, I think the ruling also mentioned the word inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you start getting into a situation like this, like what Ray was saying there, like, what is offensive speech and then something like that, no matter how well-intentioned, I think Fontes, his intentions were, I think you got to be really careful with that, and I think that's what the judge came down here and said, like, look, we can't do it the way you want to, try again.
This was a unanimous three-judge ruling here, I believe. Does it exceed state law? Was the ruling that it also exceeded state law?
What Fontes was attempting to do?
Yes.
I believe that was their contention. I mean, this is not the complete end of the fight over everything in the EPM. I just want to note, there have been several arguments, and I think there's a separate lawsuit as well. One of the most important provisions of what Fontes wants to establish is the part about county votes.
Yes.
If counties fail to certify their votes when they're supposed to, do we just not include those votes in the general tally, or do we have to wait for them? He wanted to establish in the EPM, which I believe has force of law, that we're just going to go on without that county's votes. Too bad, so sad. And that is something that Republicans really don't like.
Yeah, and I believe the judge said that he was really worried about disenfranchising certain voters if you're going to go ahead and move forward on something like that without every vote being in, and that's a big concern as well, that not every vote is going to be counted here.
And I think challengers had no standing, I believe, was part of the ruling as well, because there's no evidence of this. But we do have evidence, don't we? What happened in Cochise County? How was that playing into this?
That's correct. I'm not going to say exactly what the judge meant by the standing there, but we do have that Cochise County situation. And
describe what happened in Cochise.
Well, basically, the two of the county supervisors decided that they would not make the election official in their county because they had questions, and their questions were not questions to everybody. Basically, they had subjective issues with what was going on, and so a judge eventually ordered them to make the election official. If that county had been removed, some elections would have been changed, and including the school superintendent, Tom Horn, would have lost his race.
But does that not make the judge's ruling make the point that there are other methods to handle this as opposed to what Secretary Fontes wants to do? But you got to get the numbers in. You got to get the results in, don't you?
I mean, far be it for me to, question the legal arguments being made, but I think what they're really saying is courts love to have Mr. and Mrs. disenfranchised voter to come in and say, I'm a victim of whatever's happening, and that's why this needs to change. And they're saying that didn't happen because nobody was disenfranchised, because ultimately the votes were counted. So everything's fine, potentially, but I think Ray brings up a good point of this example, and obviously Mojave County as well. They tried to do that, and then Mays kind of stepped in and was like, I will sue all of you. And so they reluctantly certified the results without delay. But it's not unheard of.
Last point on the elections manual. It just seems lots of questions going on with, obviously, as Cameron mentioned, Republicans don't like the vocabulary and the punctuation probably in it. But there are questions and there are concerns.
There are, and some of them are legitimate. Adrian Fontes, the Secretary of State, has acknowledged that some things can be changed. But as Cameron said, there's another lawsuit that's going on, and there's like 5 or 6 points that Republicans have pointed out. There's Dropbox issues, there's timing issues, and things like that.
Yeah.
Because the Election Procedures Manual does hold the force of law, it has the power to change elections, and Republicans are probably kind of ticked off that a Democrat is putting it together.
All right, Dennis, we had an executive order on COVID vaccines. Governor says make them available. Let's do it and circumvent any problems coming from the feds.
Yeah, this is a responsibility from RFK Jr. out there, and also you're noticing a lot of other Democratic governors across the country are doing the same thing. And what Governor Hobbs is attempting to do is make sure that anybody who wants to get that COVID vaccination is going to be able to get that without any problems right now. Because I believe, on the federal level, there was some guidance that was put out there that you could only get it if you were 65 and older, and some other considerations there. Hobbs definitely wanting to get out in front of this one and put this to rest, that if you want that vaccine, you can go ahead and get it.
Especially the idea of getting it without a prescription, it sounds like.
To make it accessible, and
Yeah.
I believe this is sort of a mandate to state agencies as well, that they have to do this, that they have to keep it accessible to Arizonans.
Health Department, Department of Insurance, Pharmacy Department, they were all in the order, and as Cameron mentioned, make sure it's accessible, make sure it's there.
Well, I think there's a lot of popular interest in getting the vaccine if you want it, and if people don't want it, fine. But the new rules that came out of the CDC did make a lot of people worried and nervous that they wouldn't be able to get the shot even if they wanted to. And one of those rules, and I think it's basically in effect, is that if you're under 65, you need that prescription. And so unless you have some kind of a special need,
Right.
To use that.
But does a standing order count as a prescription? Is that why the standing order was put in place? Do we know?
I mean, I think I could see this being challenged somewhere. Maybe that decision that is decided somewhere else out there. But that's one of the main questions at least I had on this, whether that does work as a prescription, a standard prescription.
And we should mention the governor said instead of CDC is okay, which everyone seems to have a problem with if you're pro-vaccine, instead be in accordance with nationally recognized professional clinical guidance. So that would be different than what the CDC and what their advisory committee seems to suggest. All right, let's move on. Cameron, we'll start with you on this one. Someone wants to rename the Loop 202 for Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, that someone is Senate President Warren Peterson, who's obviously a Republican. This is one of the few suggested memorials or recognitions of Kirk in the wake of his assassination. And this section of freeway, I believe, is right by where they had their first office in Arizona, which is in downtown Mesa, when Kirk and Boyer had first come here and decided to make it their base. So I think that's the reasoning behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a few questions when this first came out. I mean, the Loop 202 is I think it has 3 official designations. I believe it's the Santan Freeway, the Red Mountain Freeway, and here's the important part: is the Ed Pastor Freeway. I find this to be interesting. It was like, how would this work? Would you erase Ed Pastor's name from this road? After all, I mean, it was Ed Pastor who got the funding to build this darn road.
Isn't the Red? I thought it was the Red Mountain stretch that would be involved here, or maybe not.
I talked to President Peterson today. He believes that it would be the entire Loop 202.
The entire Loop 202.
Which, people are still confused about that. Is it, really the 202, the one that's south and north?
There's
but
a lot
it
of
is.
202s out
There's
there.
a lot of 202s, and it's all the same thing, apparently. And the whole thing would be called the Charlie Kirk Memorial Freeway if Peterson had his way.
Okay, so he says this will definitely pass the legislature. Will this definitely pass the legislature?
Yeah, I think the question is, will it definitely pass Governor Katie Hobbs? And I think that puts her in a position. I mean, I would assume that she doesn't really want to do that, but also it's such a touchy subject that I can imagine it's going to be kind of a nasty fight if and when it gets to her desk and she chooses not to make this recognition. And as Dennis mentioned, I think it's worth noting, like, does that mean we're stripping it of the pastor name, or are we going to hyphenate it like a married couple, or like what are we going to do? Because I don't think those are two folks whose names necessarily want to be associated with one another.
And let's put some of this into context. I mean, this week we saw in Congress a couple of memorials, resolutions honoring the life, the work of Charlie Kirk out there. The day of remembrance for him on October 14th, which would have been Charlie Kirk's 32nd birthday. That stuff's passing. It's passing with bipartisan support in Congress. Will there still be that spirit of that come January? Because you can't do anything right now until they get back to work. And I'm sure viewers of the show know that the legislature doesn't come back to work until mid-January to start working on this. So is that spirit out there to memorialize and to remember Charlie Kirk still going to be there?
Yeah, that is a big question. I mean, this is where it is now, and it's still pretty raw. But when you have a few months separation here, again, does it pass the legislature? Does it pass the governor's desk?
I think the public is going to weigh in on this one as well, and time will also, clear some heads about, what people think about the freeway issue, maybe apart from, or at least give a little time from Kirk's death. Yeah, and I asked Peterson if he thought, that Kirk's was too divisive, basically, or there's divided opinions about him, obviously. He said Kirk wasn't divisive, but he also said that people don't like Ed Pastor either. So,
and I think it's also worth pointing out here too that Warren Peterson is running for state attorney general, statewide office. Turning Point USA, the organization that Charlie Kirk co-founded, is an important piece in Republican politicians' any plans they have in campaigning out there. I can't help but divorce. You can't divorce some of that here. Is this a move to try to appease them as that group moves forward and as he moves into his political campaign?
That's not going to hurt him at all.
No, I strongly suspect that they will continue this momentum, personally. I think there might even be more. Charlie Kirk statues, Charlie Kirk,
well, yeah,
medals.
There's, there could be a flurry of legislation. There's already one other Kirk-related legislation that's been floated by Representative Kwong Win of Prescott, and he says that he's going to introduce a bill that would make it give people the death penalty if they commit a political assassination, and also if the target lives, the person who is the perpetrator would get life in prison. He said that was, in some ways, the more important provision because, of course, we already have a death penalty for first-degree murder here.
And we should also mention that there's a move to rename 48th Street that'll stretch, I think, Beverly down there south of Baseline for Charlie Kirk. I think Fountain Hills, a community center, is now renamed after, or will be renamed after a municipalities can go crazy on this, can't they? I mean, they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, is there going to be a point where someone says, well, we've named enough after this? I don't know if that's going to ever happen, but it seems like a lot of people, this is a very emotional issue, and people are feeling the need to try to do something, I think, to try to memorialize this guy's life, this guy's work, as controversial as his life and work may have been.
Speaking of which, we have a big memorial service coming up this weekend at State Farm Stadium in Glendale. What do we know about this so far?
Well, I talked to Glendale PD. They're taking somewhat a big part of, not the lead in all this. Obviously, anytime the president comes out, he's expected to speak, as long as with J.D. Vance. Secret Service oversees everything. But Glendale PD, it's happening in Glendale. They told me that they're expecting 100,000 people to come out there on Sunday to at least try to get into the building there. It's going to be a lot of security out there. It is a big event. Some number of members of President President Trump's cabinet are going to be out there speaking about Charlie Kirk and what else out there. So it's going to be a big event. It's going to be a lot of security, and it's going to be very high profile.
Yeah, definitely Arizona a focal point there. Cameron, the Scottsdale City Council kind of did a little bit of a punt with this Axon, it's this challenge of the state law regarding Axon. Give us the background on this, and what did the council do, and more importantly, not do?
Okay, this has been a long fight. So Axon is this big company. They make tasers. I think that's probably what they're best known for. They want to set up this big campus here, which is going to be very fancy and expensive and includes all these apartments and I think a hotel. And so they wanted to do that first through the city council, but the citizens in Scottsdale really don't like it, especially the apartments idea. They really hate that, so they said no. And then Axon took it to the state legislature and said please, and the state legislature said yes. But now Scottsdale wants to fight back against the law, which is about to go into effect, I think, next week on the 26th.
Yes,
so they can do that. But instead of filing a lawsuit, they filed, I think it's called a notice of claim,
yeah.
which is basically like a preliminary step. So they can file a lawsuit, but they haven't actually done it yet. And I think their argument would be that this potentially violates the gift clause, because they're arguing that this is basically a giant handout to a company, which they say is not going to benefit us as Arizonans. This
is up near Hayden in the Loop 101, I think, is where the idea of where this would be. Again, luxury hotel, nearly 2,000 apartments. And also, there's the idea of referendum rights here from voters. I mean, the voters, if voters say X and the state law says Y, what are we looking at here? What's the gaps, Joe?
I mean, you would think that people, that there'd be even more people that were against that law. But there's a lot of interest in Axon, and it does bring in economic activity to the state. So even Democrats, were for this bill, but it does disenfranchise people. And the original idea that they had would have sort of allowed this disenfranchisement across the state. They eventually tailored it so that it would only affect Scottsdale, pretty much, or cities that are about that size.
And the governor?
The governor was okay with it.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if there's going to be a political element of this. We're heading into a midterm election. Are any of the lawmakers out there going to pay a price if they were seen as supporting something like this? So you got voters out there saying, we told you what we wanted and you went against us on that.
So there's a referendum in another name.
Yeah. I mean, you're saying if the voters say this and the legislature says, well, why? I mean, I tend to think at the end of the day, the voters could likely have the last say on this.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would just point out is that Scottsdale still hopes for negotiation, and that could involve in their minds maybe reducing the number of apartments down, or some other, lowering the footprint or something.
I think they've already gone down on the number a little bit, and people have kind of dug their heels in at this point. I mean, it's no skin off my nose if they want to make it or not. I don't live out there. I do think that typically there's a precedent that courts do not like to break, which is that if there's a referendum, if voters have made their opinion clear, then what lawmakers want to do that hops over them is secondary, because lawmakers are supposed to be representing those people. So if those people said it straight up, then the lawmaker's opinion is pushed back.
Yeah, interesting. It kind of brings back ESA memories as well, but we definitely will not go down that avenue. All right, Ray, who is Representative John Gillette? What has the House Ethics Committee decided about him, and how is he responding?
John Gillette is a second-term lawmaker, Republican from Kingman. He's a former command sergeant in the Army. He's done a lot of security work. He's been overseas a lot, and he can tell you about Muslims and how bad they are. And that's his point of view. And he put these comments on X.com about a week and a half ago that essentially called all Muslims savages, and made other harsh remarks about what they believe, and it was all completely generalized for the most part. Eventually, he got into, well, there's radical Muslims, et cetera, but it was a real diss on Muslims in general. People were very angry at this. Democrats submitted an ethics complaint, but the Republican ethics chair, Lupe Diaz, he decided that this is free speech. He didn't impugn any, directly, no direct criticism to any legislative member. So there was no House rule broken. So they decided they couldn't do anything.
Democrats called it unbecoming of a elected official and basically offensive. And they wanted a probe. They wanted an investigation.
And no shocker there. The Ethics Committee is not going to take this up there. I mean, the Republicans control all that. And, you hear that excuse a lot of times about when lawmakers say something that's either deemed offensive or maybe stupid or whatever, and they're saying, well, they got a right to say something like that. But I just also wanted to add, too, that Mr. Gillette also making a lot of friends down there, and I say that sarcastically because there was apparently some sort of email exchange going on down at the legislature, and now Democrats have claiming that some of them don't feel safe around him.
It was in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and one of the Democratic lawmakers had reached out to the Republicans and said something along the lines of, like, I'm sorry for your loss. There have been a lot of gun violence deaths recently, and preaching that they should come together and unify. And Gillette responded to that and basically said, no, it's your side only. This is war, and said some other colorful things, basically rejecting that. And so the Democrats, some of them, are now saying what Dennis said, which is that they feel unsafe or uncomfortable around him.
Has he walked back any of those remarks?
I mean, I think he said that some of what he initially said was taken out of context. He said that, I think, to the Arizona Mirror, but not specifically. I don't really expect him to, and in terms of if it affects his political career, I would say probably not, because the Republicans are in charge, and he represents Kingman, not Tempe.
And he's not running again, is he? Or is he running again?
I believe he is running.
Is he going to run
yeah.
again? Okay. I thought maybe he wasn't.
I'm not positive about
Yeah,
that.
but
I think I don't recall that he has announced that he's not running again.
Okay. But he was unapologetic, though, for defending God, America, and the U.S. Constitution.
He was, and he softened his message just a little, after all this criticism, and he's issued 2 long essays. But really, they kind of descend into his same old, criticisms of what he wants to do. And it's not just Muslims and Islam. He connects them to the left and Democrats, and they're all together to ruin the world, in his opinion. Some of the Democrats said that they were worried because they were worried that he carries a gun into the legislature, as some members are sort of believed to do, and he probably didn't help the security or their feelings too much when he announced in his second essay that he does carry a gun, and it's ridiculous that people are afraid of him.
Yeah, he's not the only lawmaker over my career.
No.
I mean, other lawmakers carry guns down there. It's Arizona. Democrats, Republicans.
I mean, to be clear, he never said specifically I'm gonna he didn't say anything that he was gonna attack someone.
He wasn't threatening.
He also, I think, clarified one of his comments about you've woken the sleeping giant, and said that he was referencing something, but not making a specific threat.
Right. His symbolism to kind of make Democrats look like these are the people that attacked Pearl Harbor, these are the people that attacked 9/11. That sounds like he's declaring war to some extent. It does sound vaguely violent, but I don't think he meant it that way. And he's kind of, like I said, softened his message, at least as far as that.
All right. Cameron, we have a new state mine inspector.
I've been waiting for this one. We do have a new state. Okay, so here's the thing. Arizona is the only state, as we all know, who elects a mine inspector every 4 years, and it's one of our actual statewide offices. It's up there. I mean, it's maybe not as high profile, but it's up there with the Attorney General, Secretary of State, other things that we elect. But we found out recently that apparently our mine inspector, Paul Marsh, left a month ago, and no one told us, and sadly none of us noticed. But I was a little taken aback by that, because I would think that, someone who the voters elected almost unanimously, 90-something%, nobody ran against him, we would be told if he left, and we weren't. And we haven't really received any information about that. I know now, based on researching it, that he's taken a job in Texas, and that's great for him. And we have a new mine inspector appointed by Katie Hobbs, who seems excited about the job, so that's great. But again, I was a little surprised by the lack of communication there.
Well, it is funny, you bring up the point, it's it's almost like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, right? If a mine inspector resigned and nobody knows.
Well, I mean, you have to assume that he's in a mine somewhere, maybe, so you might not hear from him right away.
I don't know, you pay close attention to a lot of this stuff. I can go months, maybe years, without even thinking about the mine inspector.
I tell you what, some of the most interesting debates I've ever done were for state mine inspector. It is a statewide office, and they did at one point have debates. It seems like no one's running against anyone anymore for that particular
In the history
office.
of the state, I mean, the history of the office is really interesting. When you go back to it, it's lost its significance over the years because Arizona was very much a big mining industry here, and they felt at the time of statehood that they needed an office to kind of regulate that industry because it did have so much power.
Yeah.
I find that stuff interesting, but obviously over the years it's lost some of its significance to the point where they can now resign and nobody notices.
There's a lot to it, and it's probably a very busy job, a full-time job to some extent, but I believe it only pays $50,000. So if he got a job in Texas, odds are it pays more than that.
Yeah. And real quickly, we had a past mine inspector that had a very interesting proposal that we were talking about.
Joe Hart.
Please remind us.
Please, I love talking about Joe Hart. He was one of my favorite politicians to ever cover. But yeah, one of his big proposals back in the day was he was going. And part of what the mine inspector does is they, try to deal with all, hundreds, thousands of abandoned mines.
And that's
in
serious
Arizona.
business.
And that is serious business. Every now and then, somebody falls in them, and
Yes.
they get hurt. And his plan was to take a bunch of used tires and fill up those mines with used tires. Now, you can imagine people from the environmental and maybe even common sense community would have been like, what are you thinking here, man? There's environmental, most tires are like 90% petroleum and stuff like that. If those things catch fire underground, how do you put this out? There's a lot of stuff out there that happens.
I like it.
It was one of my favorite proposals out there, and they were serious. He was serious about it.
We should fill them with trampolines, and people fall in and just get tossed right back out.
Maybe
I should run for mine.
You should run for mine
You should go for the
inspector.
appointment.
We'll
You
look for you on the next debate. Panel, thank you so much for being here. Good conversation. Good to have you all here. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.